Part 18. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 172. Chapter 170 Mandrill. The Taoist rituals and training of Dharma-protecting generals have many wonderful uses, and Su Junming mostly used them to drive away corpses for himself. He took out the meteorite ball and activated his magic power, and hundreds of corpses flew out. You go to Haifang village. You go to Zuliang town. You go to Wushan county. In the blink of an eye, half of the corpses in the meteor ball were lost. If it weren't for Huang Liangmai, the effective distance of controlling the guardian god would be only 200 miles. He wished he could hand over all the corpses to the Dharma Protector General, so as to save himself the trouble of running errands. After the four guardian gods bowed, they tied their own bodies with the magic-conquering golden locks and turned around and left the cave. There is only the last Dharma Protector General left, who has been trained by Bai Zheng. He is too weak. He will wait until he is innate in the sacrifice and then be released to become his own corpse exorcist. Master, these guys are so weak, how can they really do it? Mao meowed. In your eyes, they are weak, but in the eyes of ordinary monks, they are not. There are four Dharma-protecting generals, one at the peak of the innate world, two at the late stage of the innate state, and one at the middle stage of the innate state. In addition to cultivation, he used the materials obtained from the Wu family to practice for each of them a 6-treasure golden lock for subduing demons, an ironwood sword of 6 treasures, and 6 innate Bagua formation diagrams and pressure formations. The cave's true middle-grade Xuanyan spirit talisman. Even the peak Xiantian and the 2 late-stage Xiantian Dharma Protector Generals each have a high-grade magic weapon obtained from the Wu family. This kind of equipment has surpassed that of most casual cultivators in the cultivation world, and even the ordinary direct descendants of many sects do not have so many magical weapons. If Su Junming hadn't been able to refine weapons himself, plus he had gained part of the Wu family's 100-year accumulation, he really wouldn't have been able to put together such a lineup. Mao Meow Meow nodded. Where's this guy? Su Junming looked at the copper coffin in the center of the cave with a hint of eagerness in his eyes. Compared with the 5 Xuanyan Dharma Protector Generals that have been sacrificed and trained, the remaining bronze-armored corpses are the biggest gain from the Wu family's trip. However, the old Zongzi from the Wu family nearly injured his bones after being knocked to the bone and his marrow sucked out. He still needs to be allowed to recover before he can practice. Standing up and walking to the side of the copper coffin, Su Junming held his breath and concentrated. A blue talisman emerged from the Beihui point above his head. The magic power surged, and a faint blue brilliance shot out from the talisman, covering the copper coffin. Immediately, the copper coffin, which was 2 meters long and 1 meter high, slowly shrank. It wasn't until the entire copper coffin shrunk to 1 foot long that Su Junming took back the Hushan talisman and his destiny talisman, and wiped the sweat from his forehead with a slightly pale face. In the past 3 months, he has made further progress in the space path, and can already compress Dongxuan's low-grade treasures, but with his current level of mana, it is still a bit reluctant to use it. Put the copper coffin into the bag. Let's go. What about those guys? They have their own thing. At the beginning, when he entered Taoism, he made a great wish to drive away corpses and become Taoism. Therefore, the extermination of corpses must not stop. From now on, the Dharma Protector will be his corpse extermination team, dedicated to accumulating merit for him and fulfilling his vows. If you encounter little monsters or monsters, you should also get rid of them easily. If you encounter a big monster that you can't deal with, Su Junming will naturally take action. The god of Hushan performs magic, and now he can approach 200 feet in 1 step. It doesn't take too long to reach a distance of 200 miles. After leaving Wuling Mountain, Su Junming kept walking and spent 2 months sending out all the corpses in the meteorite. Before I knew it, it had been out for half a year. Master, where should we go next? You'll know when we get there. Mao Miao Miao lay on Su Junming's left shoulder in boredom, looking at the mountain road that extended to who knows where, and yawned lazily. Suddenly, there was a glimmer of fire in the dark woods ahead. Mao Miao Miao was shocked. There's a ghost. You're so big, you can't even recognize the Earth Temple. It's boring. It would be nice if I could have a ghost. At least I can have some fun. Su Junming was too lazy to pay attention to this stupid cat. After walking about 100 meters along the rugged mountain road, a stone road about 2 meters wide and covered with moss was exposed at the corner of the dense forest. The stone road extends inward for about 20 meters and is a small square of about 100 square meters. A gorgeously decorated carriage is tied to the crooked neck tree next to the square. An old coachman wearing a coarse patchwork jacket was taking a nap while leaning on the carriage with his bare feet. Su Junming didn't disturb him. He simply looked at the Earth Temple with yellow walls and black tiles above the steps, and stepped up. Knocking on the door, not long after, an old Miaozu wearing guy opened the door. He examined Su Junming, especially the black cat lying on his shoulder. Where did the Taoist priest come from? A slap in the face. I've invited the old layman. The next one is a Taoist priest who travels all over the world. It's getting late and he wants to stay here for one night. The old man nodded. The Taoist master is a monk and should be allowed to stay here. However, there is only one guest room in the small temple, which has been reserved for the female relatives who are staying overnight. I hope the Taoist master will forgive me. The old layman doesn't have to close the door, and the poor Taoist doesn't need a guest room. He just needs to meditate in the temple for one night. Lao Miazu hesitated for a moment and then nodded. In that case, Taoist master, please come in. After saying thanks, Su Junming stepped in. This earth temple is indeed not big. Except for the temple in the middle, there are 2 wing rooms on the left and right. The silhouette of a woman can be seen on the window paper of the left wing. She looks very young. Taoist priest, please come this way. Su Junming was led into the temple in the middle. The ground was paved with blue bricks, and 2 beams as thick as bowls with peeling red paint supported the hall, which was about 50 square meters. In the middle is a 2-meter-high shrine, in which sits the earth god, wearing a red robe, white beard and hair, and a kind face. Su Junming took 3 incense sticks from the incense stand nearby, lit them on the candle, and bowed 3 times before inserting them into the incense burner. He took 2 taels of silver from the Dharma bag and put it into the merit box next to him. Lao Miaozu's eyes lit up, and he looked at him with a more cordial look. Old layman, I will just meditate in this corner for one night. Su Junming pointed to the open space in the northeast corner. Taoist priest, actually the little old man's tukang is very spacious. If Taoist priest doesn't mind it, you and I can squeeze in at night. I have to say that the incense money of 2 taels of silver played a big role. Thank you, old layman, for your kindness. I can just meditate here. Just kidding, unless it's a girl, he never sleeps on the same bed as a man. Seeing his firm attitude, Lao Miazu nodded. Originally, he was just being polite for the sake of the 2 taels of silver and incense money. Can Taoist priests use vegetarian food? The poor Taoist has already made a living, so the old layman can use it for himself. In that case, Taoist priest, please rest here. If something happens, you can go to the right wing to look for the little old man. Old layman, walk slowly, Su Junming nodded. After he left, the black cat's spiritual consciousness transmitted a message. Master, I've smelled it, and the woman in the left wing is not a demon. There are so many demons and ghosts in the world. What's more, there is the divine power of the earth god to suppress them. Black cat pouted. There is no god in this world. Su Jun was too wise to refute. Since Lu Bowen killed the dragon in the early Ming dynasty, there have been no more gods or Buddhas in this world. The statues of gods in major temples only have the remnant of the divine power that was sacrificed to the gods and Buddhas earlier. Once the incense is lost, the divine power will dissipate between heaven and earth. In another 100 years, I am afraid that even if there are incense sacrifices, the divine power will be gone. Su Junming didn't want to control this huge trend of heaven and earth, and he couldn't control it. He took a green cloth futon from the altar table, placed it in the corner, and sat down cross-legged. After sealing the temple door with a sealing talisman, Su Junming took out the copper coffin and allowed the bronze-armored corpse inside to absorb the yin energy and recover. After pondering for a moment, Su Junming took out a palm-sized jade box from the bag of magic. After opening it, there was a piece of milky white metal the size of a table tennis ball, exuding a rich aura of gold. Apart from a bronze-armored corpse, the most precious thing gained from the last destruction of the Wu family was this Dongxian low-grade 1000 refined white iron. Except for the Xianshuang Yinsha placed in the cave of Haiming Valley, this is the second time he has obtained cave-level materials. I held it in my hand and played with it for a while before putting it away with care. How to use it, Su Junming has not yet decided. But once you get something, you won't waste it? Mao Miao Miao saw this and couldn't help but curled her lips. Isn't it just a piece of Dongxuan level 1000 refined mysterious iron? You can take it out and look at it every day without getting tired of it. Su Junming seemed to realize something and turned around to take a look. Mao Miao Miao quickly turned her head and looked away. If he sees the disdainful look in my eyes, it will definitely not be a good thing. This stupid cat. Shaking his head, Fu took out a pair of black armor embossed with dragon patterns from his magic bag. This is something obtained from the bronze-armored corpse. It is a high-grade magical weapon with an 8th level treasure. Su Junming plans to use his treasured hardware to train it into the best magical weapon. With this pair of treasured armor, after he has been trained into a Dharma Protector General, even without the bronze-armored corpse's solid body and tyrannical strength, his strength will not drop too much. Su Junming frowned and looked outside the hall. Mao Miao Miao also got up from the ground, with excitement in his tone. Master, you are evil. Su Junming's eyes revealed the shadow of bronze mirrors, and sure enough, a wisp of dark green aura was flying from the southeast. You really got it right with your crow's mouth. Put away the black armor, remove the sealing charm, and open the door. It was past midnight, and a thick lead cloud in the sky blocked the moonlight, making the sky and earth dark. Only the black shadows of the mountains in the distance were left, as if a giant beast was lying on its back, with a wild temperament. The dense woods rustle with the night wind, and the tall crown branches are connected like a thick carpet. The small earth temple is located in the dense forest, like a lonely boat in the Black Sea. The oil lamp in the wing had long been extinguished, and except for the snoring of Lao Miazo coming from the right wing, no sound could be heard. Even the sounds of insects and rats that should have been extremely noisy have long since disappeared. Suddenly, a huge figure jumped out from the southeast like lightning. This creature was 8 feet tall, shaped like a giant ape, with green hair all over its body, a mountain-shaped forehead, a blue face, red lips, and 2 thick fangs. It appeared in Su Junming's eyes. It's actually a mandrill. Mandrills are of the monkey genus and have a cruel personality. Once they become monsters, they will not only be extremely powerful, but they will also be born with wood-based Taoism, making them powerful. The mandrill approached the back of the earth temple, sniffed it, stared at the left wing, scratched the window lattice with one claw, and used the greenwood spiritual power to pull out a young woman in small clothes from inside. Help! The sudden change of menstruation made the woman scream in fright. Su Junming shook his head. He had forgotten that the monster mandrill was best at plundering human women and ravaging them. As soon as he stepped forward, Su Junming suddenly appeared in front of the mandrill under the influence of Hu Tianshen. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 173. Chapter 171 Renjiajhen. Put the man down. The mandrill's expression changed, he roared angrily, swung his giant fist, and hit Su Junming directly. The tyrannical power instantly caused an air explosion. Su Junming's expression remained unchanged, he withdrew his left foot and made a fist with his right hand. Compared to the powerful and heavy mandrill, his fist was slow and light, as if it had no strength. Boom! After the muffled sound like a drum, Su Junming took a step back. The mandrill took 2 steps back and squatted down. What a strength! Su Junming's expression changed. When he practices the divine fighting art, the physical body is the top priority. Now, with his peak Xiantian cultivation level, he could only defeat a mandrill that was in the middle stage of Xiantian, and he would only have a slight advantage in terms of strength. It can be seen that this monster is indeed worthy of the name of giant power. Mandrill got up from the ground, shook his head, and looked at Su Junming with a hint of fear in his eyes. Ever since it became a demon, there has never been anything in the mountain that can be its opponent. Now, after becoming a demon, it went down the mountain for the first time, but it was broken in the hands of a little human. Roar! With an angry roar, the mandrill's body flashed with green light, and the strong wood-type spiritual power surged, and vines wrapped around Su Junming. Haha, you want to compete with me in wood-based Taoism. A pinch of fingers. Aoki divine stake. A huge 6-foot-long wooden stake grew out of the ground like lightning, enveloping the mandrill. Only a huge ugly face was left exposed. There was a look of struggle in the fierce eyes, but the 2-foot-high wooden stake was like a sea-fixing needle. No matter how hard it struggled, it could not be shaken. Crack! The woman bound by the mandrill's magic also fell down. Master, leave that guy to me. Mao Meow Meow came at lightning speed, and after seeing the scene, he couldn't help but become depressed. Why did it end so quickly? This guy is too incompetent. Just now he was planning to have a fight to have some fun, but now it's all in vain. Su Junming was too lazy to care about it. I walked over and checked on the woman. She was not injured, but she was too frightened and fell into a coma. He stretched out his hand and used his magic power to lift the opponent up and walk towards the Earth Temple. Master, what should I do with this big guy? Don't you want to fight? Find an open place and fight hard. Before I go on the road tomorrow, sir, I want to see a tame mandrill. I was worried that there would be no good greeting gifts this time, but this mandrill finally caught up. Mao Mia Meow's eyes lit up, and Mao's face showed a look of eagerness to try. Don't worry, master, I'll take care of it, Meow Meow. When the mandrill saw the black cat walking towards him, he felt something bad in his heart. Returning to Tutu Temple, Lao Miazu had already put on his clothes. In addition to him, there were also an old coachman driving a cart outside the temple gate, and an old woman with a sad face, gathered in the courtyard of the Tutu Temple. When she saw Su Junming coming over, especially the woman floating behind him, the old lady yelled, "Miss!" He ran over quickly, but when he saw Su Junming, he stopped in fear. With a thought in her heart, the woman fell lightly into the mother's arms. She was just frightened and fainted. If you help her into rest, she will wake up in an hour. Thank you, Taoist master. Thank you, Taoist master. Go. The old woman was very strong and carried the thin young lady into the house. It was difficult for the old coachman to get in. When he saw that nothing happened, he went out to look after the carriage. Lao Miaozu came over. Taoist priest, who just kidnapped that young lady. It's a mandrill in this mountain. Mandrill, there was a trace of fear on Lao Miaozu's face. Don't worry. This thing has been captured by me. Don't worry about it coming to harass the mountain gate again. The old temple sighed. His old arms and legs are not strong enough for a mandrill to tear him apart. Thank you, Taoist master, for taking action. otherwise the little old man might have been homeless. Old layman, you don't have to be polite. The virtue of staying overnight has been deeply remembered, and now it has finally paid off. The Taoist priest is serious. Su Junming smiled and said, there are still a few hours until dawn. Old layman, please go back and rest. Taoist priest, please rest early. After bowing, Lao Miazu returned to his room. After looking at the sky, Su Junming returned to the main hall to continue meditating and practicing his armor. A night of silence. Taoist, is Taoist here? A hoarse, somewhat old voice sounded along with the knock on the door. Su Junming opened his eyes, took back the sealing charm and opened the door. The old woman was standing outside the door last night. Behind her, there was a beautiful woman of about 18 or 19 years old, wearing a moon-white women's suit and a Western lady's hat. Seeing Su Junming, the woman took 2 steps forward, bowed, and expressed gratitude. Thank you, Taoist master, for rescuing me last night. Taoists are immeasurable. Now that a poor Taoist has encountered him, he will not sit idly by. The Taoist master is indeed a Taoist master. With a wink, the old lady quickly took a bag of silver coins from her sleeve and handed it over. This is my young lady's wish. I hope the Taoist master can accept it. Su Junming was not polite and took it directly and put it in the bag. When he walks in the world, he also needs silver. Thank you, layman, for your generous gift. After thanking her again, the woman left the Tutu temple with her mother-in-law. Looking at her back, Su Junming always felt that she looked familiar. Seeing that the sky was already bright, Su Junming stretched himself. Taoist master, you slept well last night, Lao Miazu came over with a broom and asked with a smile. Su Junming nodded. Thanks to the care of the old layman, I slept very well. Master Taoist, you're welcome. If you weren't here, I'm afraid something might have happened to me. Old layman is serious. There was a pause. It's daylight, it's time for me to hit the road. Taoist priest, I have already prepared breakfast in the kitchen. Why don't you eat some before leaving? Haha, I have been repelled by this poor Taoist. Thank you very much, old layman, for your kindness. With a wave of his sleeves and a step, he arrived outside the mountain gate like a phantom. Old layman, I'm sorry to say goodbye. Lao Miaozu watched with envy as the tall figure disappeared at the end of the mountain road. You are truly a Taoist master. When we arrived at the foot of the mountain, the carriage had already left. Su Junming summoned Mao Miao Miao through the soul-binding talisman. Not long after, a black stream of light came flying towards him, and behind it was a tall green figure. Aha! Mao Miao Miao fell on Su Junming's right shoulder. The mandrill fell outside Su Junming, with his limbs hanging on the ground, looking at the man and the cat with deep fear in his eyes. Looking at the mandrill's bruised nose and swollen face, it was obvious that Mao Miao Miao had taught him a lot of lessons last night. Miao, luckily you have lived up to your command. Now this guy has agreed to serve under the master and be driven. Mao Miao Miao glared, mandrill shivered and knelt down in front of Su Junming, kowtowing repeatedly. Little demon, I am willing to serve under the master's account. His consciousness was intermittent, and he was obviously not very proficient in speaking. Su Junming drew a soul-binding talisman in the air and submerged it into the mandrill's body with a snap of his fingers. Soon it felt like there was an extra restraint on its demon soul. His already depressed expression became even more listless. You don't have to feel aggrieved. If you become a guardian spirit beast under my Taoist sect, your future achievements will be much better than being a mountain king on your own. Seeing that it was in a low mood, Su Junming didn't bother to say anything. Once you taste the benefits, you will naturally feel that it is really delicious. After looking at the mandrill's tall body, Su Junming performed a few hand strikes, and soon countless Yumu energy gathered. The vines as thick as steel wires were intertwined with each other, turning into a simple but extremely large trousers and a pair of wide straw sandals. Put it on. Mandrill took it, measured it, and put it on. Although rough, it fits perfectly. Turning to the left and looking again, I found it quite strange. With a wave of his hand, a wide hood made according to the hoodie of his previous life covered the mandrill's ferocious face. You are not allowed to take it off in front of others without my instructions. The mandrill, who was about to take off his hood, didn't dare to move for a moment. Meow 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 curiously jumped on the mandrill's head, stepped on it left and grabbed it right, and there was a bit of hope on the cute cat's face. Master, Meow needs clothes too. Do you think you can put it on? Meow 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 looked at herself, and then at the mandrill, which had a body that was almost different from a human's. It seemed that it really couldn't fit into it. Damn it, I must practice hard and try to transform as soon as possible. It's good to know. Let's go. Su Junming walked in front, followed by Mandrill. With this green dress as a cover, I would occasionally encounter pedestrians who would marvel at its height, but no one would have thought that there was a powerful monster under the loose clothes. After walking along the official road for about 20 miles, a prosperous town appeared in front of us. When we arrived at the entrance of the town, there was a stone monument next to it, with 3 large black characters in regular script on it. Renjiajhen. Look at the stone monument, and then look at the bustling town ahead. The power of fate is really powerful. Master, I can't help but come to this town. After asking the locals about the location of Minji village, I took Mandrill to find it. After a brief inspection, Su Junming stepped forward and knocked on the door of the 3 thatched houses and courtyard walls made of loess. Here he comes, who is calling the door so early in the morning? A simple but young voice came from inside. With the sound of footsteps approaching from far away and a squeak, the courtyard door opened, and a young man with a pot head and a simple face appeared in Su Junming's eyes. He looked up and down at the young Taoist standing in front of him. Who are you looking for? I come from mission and want to see Uncle Lin. Uncle Lin. Your name is Wen Ke, right? Su Junming smiled. You know me. After nodding, Su Junming said loudly. Uncle, Su Junming is here to visit, can you be at home? Are you Su Junming? Wen Ke exclaimed. Uh-huh. There was a sound of breaking through the air, and Uncle Ju, dressed in pajamas, appeared at the door with his shoes on. Junming, it is indeed you. Looking at Uncle Ju, who was full of surprise, Su Junming nodded and bowed to salute. Su Junming pays homage to his uncle. Get up quickly. After holding up his arms with both hands, I have heard from your master about your performance in the Changchun Valley competition. You can win against 4 against 1, which is really good. As he said that, he patted Su Junming's generous shoulder hard, with happiness and relief on his face. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 174. Chapter 172 The Art of Building a House. My nephew is able to achieve what he is today, thanks to the teachings of his uncle. Haha, you and I are from the same school. I won't say any polite words and come in quickly. Su Junming stepped into the courtyard, but it was difficult for Mandrill, who was 8 feet tall and nearly 2.5 meters tall, to get in. Junming, is this? When Uncle Ju first came out, he felt the demonic aura on the Mandrill, but seeing it following Su Junming, he thought it was a beast tamed by his nephew, so he didn't ask any more questions. Last night, we stayed at the Earth Temple 10 miles away from here. I happened to encounter it coming down the mountain to cause trouble. I wanted to kill it, but I thought it was not easy to practice and it was not full of resentment, So I captured it and gave it to my uncle to look after his house. Protect the hospital. With a wave of his sleeves, the hood on the mandrill's head was lifted. Looking at the ferocious face, Wen Cai shuddered and hurriedly hid behind his master. It turns out to be a mandrill, Uncle Ju said. But my place is close to a busy city, and there are many ordinary people coming and going. It will be inconvenient to leave it here, so you should take it away. I already have this stupid cat, so keeping this mandrill is unnecessary. Master, there is no need to refuse. Uncle Ju looked at the black cat lying on Su Junming's left shoulder. He didn't pay much attention to it at first, but this time his expression suddenly changed. First, the peak of heaven. Su Junming smiled and nodded. Seeing his agreement, Uncle Ju couldn't help but sigh. He was not even sure of conquering the demonic beast that was at its peak. From this point alone, it can be seen that his nephew, whom he has not seen for 2 years, has surpassed him in abilities. And he found that every time he heard news about his nephew, it seemed to break his inherent concepts. Master! The shouts came from afar, and everyone looked to see a young man wearing a light blue shirt, with parted hair, fair appearance and handsome appearance, riding a bicycle towards here. Oh, you monster! Seeing the mandrill's ferocious face and tall and burly figure, the visitor screamed and fell off the car. The embarrassed look instantly made Uncle Ju's face droop. You monster, come here quickly. When the young man heard this, he pushed the car with a fearful expression and walked over tremblingly. The wheels were pressed against the roadside, as far away from the mandrill as possible. This is Su Junming, whom I have often mentioned to you before. Come here quickly to pay your respects to your senior brother. Brother. Since the two of them became apprentices, they have heard the name Su Junming countless times from their master's mouth, and every time it was a compliment, so they have long been extremely curious about their master's highly respected genius brother. Junming, these two are the apprentices I accepted after coming to Renjia town. This one is called Wen Ke and is my senior brother, and this one is called Chiu Sheng and is my junior brother. Su Junming, who had expected this for a long time, took out the 2 porcelain vases he had prepared in advance from his bag. When we meet for the first time, as a senior brother, I didn't prepare any good gifts. These 2 yellow bud pills, one for each of the 2 junior brothers, is considered as a meeting gift. I hope the 2 junior brothers don't dislike it. Don't dislike it, don't dislike it. Chiu Sheng took the initiative to reach out and snatch the medicine bottle from Su Junming's hand. Yes, we don't mind it at all. Literary talents are not far behind either. They have long understood the efficacy of Huanjidan from their master. Now that we encounter it, there is no reason to miss it. The 2 apprentices looked like they were obsessed with money, which made Uncle Ju feel sulky. He is also a disciple, so why are all his disciples like this? Pop! Chiu Sheng and Wen Cai were slapped twice on the back of the head. Why don't you thank me, senior brother? Thank you, senior brother. Looking at the 2 of them, Su Junming was deeply grateful for his master. Although Jiali's qualifications and understanding are not outstanding, at least he will not cause trouble, let alone cheat his master. Junming, come in. Don't be busy yet, he pointed to the open space next to Yizhuang and asked, Uncle, is there an owner of this land? Where there is a wilderness, there is a lord. Yizhuang is a place where corpses are stored, so naturally it will not be built inside a village or town. The same is true for Jushu's Yizhuang, which is still 1 mile away from Renjia town. Moreover, the place where Yizhuang was established was not farmland, but a low mountain covered with rocks. Su Junming nodded. Take a step forward. Uncle Ju naturally followed him. Although Chiu Sheng Guanke was afraid of the mandrill's ferocious face, he did not fall behind because of his master's presence. The place Su Junming pointed to is located on the mountainside. It's overgrown with weeds, full of rocks, and it's a slope. Su Junming took a brief look, and the emperor's magic talisman in his dantian shone brightly, silently urging his magic power. In an instant, the land within a radius of 30 feet seemed to come alive, and countless pieces of soil were churning and gathering together to form a platform of about 300 square meters. That's not all, the mud kept rising like a fountain, and in the blink of an eye it was already 5 meters above the platform. 5 meters later, the direction of the mud spurt changed from vertical to parallel until the left and right sides were connected to each other. It only takes a few minutes before and after. A house with a courtyard wall 3 meters high, a house 5 meters high, and a foot 3 inches thick, made entirely of mud, appeared in front of everyone. Su Junming gave a low drink. Certainly. With a flash of inspiration, the house originally made of earth slowly transformed into blue stone. Look at your results. It still lacks some vitality. Activate the greenwood talisman, and a camphor tree, which is common in the south, rises from the ground in the corner of the wall. Within a moment, it becomes as thick as 2 people can hug it, and its crown is like a cloud. Then many shrubs and flowers grew rapidly from the wall. From the beginning to now, in just a few minutes, except for the courtyard door, room doors, and windows, the entire house has nothing missing for Su Junming. His magic power is not yet able to do such delicate work as constructing courtyard doors, room doors, and windows. But even so, a courtyard was built in a short period of time. Just look at Qiu Sheng and Wen Cai's stunned expressions, you will know how amazing it is. Even Uncle Ju took a long time to calm down. Junming, have you practiced the Taoism of wood and earth? By chance, I learned a lot. He said it in an understatement, but Uncle Ju understood the level of Taoism required to build such a house in such a short period of time. However, thinking of Su Junming's current cultivation level and the powerful understanding and strength he showed in the competition between the 2 factions in Changchun Valley, Uncle Ju did not say anything about biting off more than he can chew. A green light flashed out from his bent fingers, transmitting the foundation building chapter and the innate chapter of the Aoki Shangyuan Gong to the mandrill. Compared with the demonic techniques that mandrill has explored on his own, Taoist golden elixir magic techniques such as King Mu Shangyuan Gong, which directly point to the immortal way, are undoubtedly countless times stronger. It is also a person who knows the goods, and his face will show joy when he sees it. From now on, you will live here and look after my uncle's house and nursery. If you do a good job, I will teach you the follow-up skills. The mandrill nodded repeatedly. Thank you, old master. Go. The mandrill nodded and walked into the yard. In order to facilitate its entry and exit, Su Junming built the courtyard gate and wooden door to a height of 1 foot and a width of 2 meters, which is enough for it to enter and exit. Uncle, this is the talisman to control the mandrill. If it does evil, use this talisman to control it. Looking at the jade talisman that Su Junming handed to him, Uncle Ju took it after hesitating for a moment. After all, it was my nephew's wish, and since he had a better way to control the beast, there was no harm in keeping the mandrill himself. Let's go home and talk. Su Junming nodded and followed Uncle Ju into Yizhuang. After the guests and hosts were seated. How is your master lately? I have been practicing in seclusion recently, and my magical power is even better than before. He is lucky to have a disciple like you. Su Junming has understood the true magic of Shende to the blue basic talisman stage, which is beyond the 4-eye level. With him as his apprentice leading the way, it would naturally be better to enter the country with 4 eyes than by groping on his own. Moreover, since he tasted the sweetness, Simu has also lost the dignity of being a master. Whenever he encounters a problem in the comprehension of the true secret of Shende, he will send a letter to Su Junming to ask. The gains achieved in 3 months are greater than those in the past 3 years, and the understanding of the true magic of divine fighting has reached the critical point of breaking through the blue fundamental talisman. Uncle, this is my disciple's understanding of the golden light Bagua. Please accept it, Uncle. Compared with Shimu Zhangzi, Jushu is much more sinister. So Su Junming didn't take any detours and took it out directly. Uncle Ju's eyes lit up. He wanted to ask about this just now, but he didn't expect Su Junming to take it out first. Can't wait to take it and take a look. There was a flash of excitement in his eyes for a moment. Compared with the four eyes, his understanding of the Chunyang Bagua has just advanced to the blue fundamental talisman stage. But the records in the jade slips still made him feel quite profound. Obviously, this nephew's attainments in the pure Yang way have far surpassed his own. Junming, you must stay with my uncle this time for a few more days. Although the experience of enlightenment recorded in the jade slips is good, it is not as direct as asking for advice in person. Su Junming, who expected this, nodded. As long as my uncle doesn't dislike it, I will stay for a few more days. Uncle Ju helped him a lot when he entered Taoism, and he would repay him emotionally and rationally. Wen Ke, Chiu Sheng, go and clean up a guest room for your senior brother. No need, uncle. I'll just live in the newly opened building on the east side. Then I'll prepare some quilts for you. Su Junming waved his hand. One futon is enough, uncle, you are worrying too much. Looking at his nephew who was becoming more and more Taoist in his quiet demeanor, Uncle Ju nodded with satisfaction. Look at the two stupid apprentices next to them. If there is no comparison, there will be no harm. He didn't expect to receive a talented disciple like Su Junming, but this was too far behind. Ah Xing and Xiao Yu were like this before, and now when Cai and Chiu Shen, who have just taken over for a year, are also like this. Uncle Ju wondered if he should be like junior brother Four Eyes, be more diligent, be more attentive, and collect more corpses to accumulate merit, so that heaven could arrange for him some filial, sensible, and well-qualified disciples to pass on the Taoism. Otherwise, facing these two stupid disciples every day, he felt that he might not live to achieve innate perfection, so he would go down below to wash the stinky feet of his ancestor. Why did my eyes become lame in the first place? Uncle Ju shook his head silently in his heart. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 175. Chapter 174, Dragonfly Point. Chapter 173, Dragonfly Spot. Bang bang. Ouch. Wen Ke and Chiu Sheng covered their heads and looked at their master with aggrieved expressions. Why did you hit them suddenly? Have you finished your homework for today? Uncle Ju made a face. Master, didn't you say yesterday that we could have a rest today? Chiu Sheng said quickly. Yeah. Wen Ke nodded repeatedly. Uncle Ju thought about it and realized that he did indeed say that yesterday. After 1 year of practice, you can't even draw the Zhongzhen Z talisman, and you still have the nerve to rest? Go outside and practice the Bajuanjin 20 times for me. 20 times. Chiu Sheng and Wen Cai exclaimed. 30 times. Master, you are too cruel, Chiu Sheng lamented. Keep talking, 40 times, Uncle Ju said with a cold face. Just as Wen was about to speak, he was pulled back by Chiu Sheng, who was smarter. The master was obviously angry, and anything he said at this time would only add fuel to the fire. These two guys are really becoming more and more useless. Looking at the backs of the two people running out in a hurry, Uncle Ju said angrily. Su Junming had seen the same scene more than 2 years ago and smiled incredulously. Uncle, are Axing and Xiaoyu still in Jiquan town? I just attended their wedding last month, Uncle Ju nodded. Really? This is a good thing. Haha, when I was still in Jiquan town, I saw them fighting and arguing every day. I didn't expect that they ended up getting together in the end. It was really unexpected. No one can be sure about relationships. Ah Xing and Xiaoyu are childhood sweethearts. It's a good thing that they can get together. Uncle Ju nodded. Junming, you have worked so hard here, so go and have some rest first. In the evening, I will prepare a table of delicious food for you to pick up the wind and wash away the dust. Su Junming knew that he wanted to understand the Chunyangbagwa cultivation experience he had given him. After nodding, he stood up. Then my nephew will take his leave first. Uncle Ju got up and sent him outside. What are you looking at? Why don't you practice quickly? Wen Kai and Xiu Sheng trembled and did not dare to look any further. They quickly turned around and started practicing Ba Duan Jin. Su Junming took a look and walked out of Yizhuang. Arriving at the house he had just built, Mandrill was very obedient and did not enter the main room in the middle. Instead, he settled down in the side room on the left. Master, I want to go out for a walk. Go. Mao Miao Miao received permission, jumped and disappeared outside the door. Compared to Mandrill, Mao Miao Miao, who always looks like an ordinary black cat, is less noticeable. Usually when it goes out, Su Junming doesn't care much. He took out the futon from his bag and sat cross-legged in the empty hall. If I remember correctly, there is a black zombie hiding in Renjia town. Although he now has 5 zombie-transformed Dharma Protector Generals, Su Junming never has too many Dharma Protector Generals. After all, my understanding of the puppet talismans is constantly improving. Now I can do 7 things at once, and there will naturally be more in the future. There is not one more Dharma Protecting General, although the increase in his strength is not much. But having one more Dharma Protecting General exorcising corpses will help accumulate more merit in the future. Accumulating a little makes a lot, gathering sand into a tower is a great merit. Great merit means great opportunity, and great opportunity means rapid improvement in strength. Moreover, in the world of spiritual practice, only those with all yin characters in their 8 characters can become zombies. And people with all yin in their horoscopes are themselves excellently qualified cultivators. Therefore, if the Dharma Protector General trained through zombie rituals continues to practice and improve in the future, he will consume much less spiritual energy and resources than ordinary people, and his promotion speed will also be faster. If there is a chance, of course I would still use zombie sacrificial training. I looked at the time, it was still very early. Take one step forward and come to Renjia town. As a well-known squire in the town, it is not difficult to find a place for the Ren family. He drew an invisibility charm and stuck it on himself. Although this kind of ordinary talisman cannot be hidden from practitioners, it is still no problem to hide it from ordinary people. Ren's house is not that big. Apart from the front and back gardens, there is a 3-story main building in the middle that combines Chinese and Western styles. It was easy to find director Ren Jiaji. Is her. Looking at the woman in a dress clinging to Renfa's side, Su Junming recognized at a glance that she was the one he had rescued from the mandrill in the Earth Temple last night. No wonder I always felt familiar when I looked at her last night. It turns out she is Ren Ting Ting. Looking at her this way, she is really pretty. Ting Ting, how long do you plan to stay when you come back this time? Dad, I'm going to stay a little longer this time. Oh? Isn't it good to live in Axiong's house? My brother has been away from home lately. I have been living on campus for the past 6 months, Ren Ting Ting frowned. He hesitated. Dad, I feel like my brother has always been weird these years. Strange. Well, my brother used to love me. No matter what I wanted, he would buy it for me immediately. But now he ignores me. His face is dark and cold all day long, and no one dares to come close. Renfa fondly touched his daughter's soft black hair. Maybe Axiong encountered something unpleasant and that's why he acted like this. He can just wait until it gets over. Dad. Okay, you just came back from the provincial capital, go and have a rest. All right. Ren Ting Ting pouted and stood up. Seeing her go out, the smile on Renfa's face gradually calmed down. Is there someone coming? A 500-year-old man wearing black robes walked in quickly. Master, What are your orders? Call a few people, bring generous gifts, go to the Earth Temple 10 miles away, and invite the young Taoist priest who lives there back to me. Be careful, you must be polite and don't offend the other party. Yes, sir. I'm going right now. Wait, send someone to tell Awei that there is a monster in Crouching Tiger Mountain 10 miles away, and ask him to lead the security team to encircle and suppress it. Seeing that the old housekeeper hadn't moved yet, Ren waved his hand. It's okay, go ahead. The old housekeeper nodded and hurried out. Renfa thought for a moment and then slowly shook his head. Axiong hasn't been back for a year. I don't know what he is doing. And Shanur, I don't know if he can bring it back to me. Renfa, who was talking to himself, suddenly felt a strong sense of sleepiness. He leaned his head on the chair and fell asleep. Su Junming flicked his fingers, and the colorful yellow rice passed through Renfa's forehead, capturing his soul. With the help of magic power, his memories appeared in Su Junming's eyes bit by bit. It turns out that Renfa really has a son. Memories flashed through scenes, and several of them left a deep impression on Su Junming. After finding what he wanted, he sent Renfa's soul back into his body. Ordinary people cannot die as long as their souls leave the body for no more than 12 hours. This Ren Xiang doesn't look like an ordinary person. He smiled slightly and said, interesting. Looking at Renfa, who was sleeping soundly. Taking away your old man can be regarded as saving your life. Let's clear up the cause and effect. Under the magic of Hushan God, Su Junming quickly arrived at the ancestral grave of the Ren family not far from Renjia town. It is said to be an ancestral tomb, but in fact only the old man of the Ren family is buried here. The other ancestors of the Ren family are buried elsewhere. After all, Qingfengdian is the only place in the world. Stand on the top of the mountain and look around. The mountains are clear and the airflow is smooth. Not far from where he stood, there was a spring. The gurgling water formed a stream, flowing along the mountain ridges and into a stream in the mountains. Sure enough, it is the auspicious point of dragonfly touching water. Su Junming also understands Feng Shui. In other words, all mission Taoist priests will know some Feng Shui to some extent, but some are proficient in it while others are sparse. Those who are proficient are like Uncle Ju, and those who are sparse are like Four Eyes. Su Junming didn't study Feng Shui much, and he wasn't as good as Uncle Ju, but he was definitely much better than his master. After taking a few steps forward, a tall tomb appeared in front of me. On the tombstone in the middle, the tomb of Wei Yong, the Duke of Xiankao Ren. Chinese people are particular about erecting monuments. Usually it starts with the word Xian or Xian to show respect. If only one of the elderly people on both sides dies, the word Xian will be used. If both people are deceased, the word Xian will be used. Sometimes the word Gu is also used. For example, when someone dies, to show respect, people generally don't say dead but pass away. In addition, Cao is generally used to describe the father, and is used to describe the mother. There is an idiom like mourning one's heir, which means like one's parents passing away, describing being extremely anxious and sad. After examining the tomb, Su Junming's pupils revealed the shadow of bronze mirrors. It's really here. Huh. Seeing the layer of black soil covering the top of the coffin, he finally understood why zombies could be raised in an auspicious cave. Generally, dragonfly points must be covered with a layer of loess on the coffin lid, otherwise the hole will be ruined. This tomb not only did not use loess, but also used extremely yin coffin soil. Coffin soil is the yin soil formed after the decomposition of human corpses. It contains a strong aura of death. A mere mortal would become seriously ill if exposed to even a tiny bit of it. When four people with all negative horoscopes meet, they are zombies. But this person only broke the dragonfly a little bit, and did not ruin the luck of the Ren family. He touched his chin. Is it just for this zombie? After pondering for a moment, he shook his head. Whatever, since I've let this Taoist happen to me, it's my thing. Su Junming stamped his feet, an earthy yellow light flashed, and the underground soil spewed out like spring water. After a while, a black lacquer coffin emerged from a foot away from the left side of the tomb. He took out his Tianluo umbrella to block the sun, grabbed it with his left hand, and with an undercurrent of mana, he opened the coffin lid. A faint black mist spread from the coffin. Su Junming stepped forward and saw an old man wearing a shroud lying inside. The exposed face and hands were already covered with tough and shiny black hair. Innate peak. Feeling the intensity of the corpse aura, Su Junming's eyes lit up. However, in the plot, it is impossible to fight so fiercely with Uncle Ju, who is wearing a magical weapon, even if he is not at the peak of his innate nature. No matter who raised this corpse, it was now an advantage for him. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 176. Chapter 174 Kunlun Map. Huishan Compression Technique. Old Master Ren's body instantly became 1 foot in size. After sealing it with the sealing talisman, put it into the magic bag. He also put in the nameless bones he picked up on the way here. The gold and jade burial objects were not touched either. Just as he was about to put it back, he stopped again. His brows furrowed. No, with such a heavy yin energy, with my uncle's skills, I will definitely be able to find something strange in it. With a move of his left hand, the yin and yang mill flew out of the danchan and rotated a few times, absorbing and refining most of the yin energy in the coffin. It would be abnormal for a tomb place to not have any yin qi. That's right. Fasten the lid of the coffin and send it back to the dragonfly point using the old method. We can't leave any dirt in this coffin. He stretched out his hand and a ball of black soil appeared above his right palm. Within a moment, a trace of extremely dark aura infected the magic power he was holding onto the coffin. The death aura is so strong. How much coffin soil has been tempered to have such a strong death aura? I originally wanted the true fire of the sun to refine these dead energy, but after thinking about it, I felt it was a pity. There is no distinction between good and evil in all things in heaven and earth. If you use it for good, you will be right, if you use it for evil, you will be evil. This is the concept shared by the northern and southern sects of Mission, and even the entire Shangqing Fulu sect. Su Junming has been taught by Four Eyes since he was a child, and the concepts in his head are also the same. If death energy is used as a righteousness, then it is the right path. So, he took a jade bottle, attached a sealing charm, compressed the coffin soil, and put it inside. After doing this, Su Junming clapped his hands. His hung has been obtained, and now he will go back and practice some exercises. In half a month, he will have an innate peak protector god. Just as he was about to activate the Hu Tian Shen technique to leave, he suddenly discovered that there was a hint of ghostly energy hidden in the southeast. Thinking of the plot, he understood that the other party was probably the female ghost who had sex with Qiu Sheng. Seeing that you are still kind, let me let you live free for a few more days. Dong Xiao tried hard to control his ghostly aura, for fear of attracting the Taoist's attention. It wasn't until he left that he breathed a sigh of relief. But soon a ray of sadness came to my mind. Back at Yizhuang, Uncle Ju was still studying the Chunyang Bagua cultivation experience he gave him. Mao Miao Miao didn't know where to wander, and Mandrill was practicing the Aoki Shangyuan Gong very hard in the room. When he came to the main room and sat cross-legged on the futon, Su Junming sealed the room with a sealing charm and took out the body of Mr. Ren. Feeling the abundant corpse energy in his body, Su Junming nodded with satisfaction. As soon as his heart moved, the yin and yang mill flew out from his danchan. Then he took out a dreamy yellow beam from the bag of magic. After taking a deep breath and reciting the Pure Heart Sutra silently to calm down the distracting thoughts in my mind, I activated my magic power and the yin-yang great mill began to spin rapidly. The rich gray corpse energy flew out from the body of old Master Ren. After extensive grinding, it was quickly divided into dark purple Shay-Yin energy, indigo resentment energy, and pitch black death energy. The Shay-Yin energy returned to old man Ren's body, while the resentment and death energy were absorbed into Yimen Huangliang. Resentment is the emotional power generated by the soul, and it is the best material for Yimen Huangliang to improve his level. The dead energy is only temporarily placed inside, and will be dealt with later. The yin and yang mill continues to rotate, and wisps of corpse energy are refined. Fortunately, there is such a big grind, otherwise if you want to train Mr. Ren, who is equivalent to the peak of the innate world, into your own Dharma Protector General, you will have to work hard for half a year. After practicing for 4 hours, it was evening. Uncle Ju asked Wen Cai to come over and invite him over. In the spacious courtyard of Yizhuang, a table of chicken, duck, and fish was laid out. Judging from the way Wen Kai and Xiu Sheng swallowed hard, it was obvious that Uncle Ju was rarely so generous. Jun Ming, come quickly. Uncle Ju smiled broadly and waved from afar. Judging from his expression, it was obvious that he had benefited a lot from Su Junming's Taoist notes. Sit down on Uncle Ju's left-hand side. Uncle, there are so many dishes, we can't finish them all. Let the two junior brothers sit down together. He glanced at the two apprentices who were staring straight at the dinner table and swallowing saliva. Since Jun Ming said it, you two should come and sit too. Wen Kai and Xiu Shen were overjoyed when they heard this. Thank you, Master, thank you, senior brother. When the two came up, they picked up 2 pieces of pig head meat with chopsticks and stuffed them into their mouths. The look of devouring the food made Uncle Ju's face darken. Slap the table. How do I usually teach you? Sitting means sitting, standing means standing, eating means eating. Are you reincarnated as a starving ghost? Facing the angry master, Wen Kai and Xiu Shen were instantly silent. Jun Ming, I made you laugh. Shaking his head, Su Junming smiled and said, Uncle, you are too harsh on your 2 junior brothers. These 2 guys, if you don't be strict, I'm afraid they'll bite you in the face. Then he picked up the wine bottle and poured Su Junming a glass of wine. Uncle, I know that you have been abstaining from the grain for a long time, but tonight is to help you cleanse yourself from the wind and dust, so how about making an exception? Since my uncle has spoken, it's no problem. Haha, that's good. He picked up the wine glass and said, this is the old Beijia wine I brought back when I went to Jiquan town to attend the wedding of Axing and Xiaoyu last time. Try it. Uncle, I don't have much ability to taste wine. Your fine wine will be overshadowed by me. It doesn't matter, just do whatever you want. Su Junming nodded and drank it all in one gulp. After a brief taste, I found it had a long entrance and a mellow aroma, which was countless times better than the blended wine I drank in my previous life. How? Uncle Ju asked with a smile. Really good. That's good. Come and eat. When you get here, it will be just like at your master's place. Then I won't be polite to my uncle. Haha, this is the best. Uncle Ju and Su Junming were both already abstinent. They drank a few drinks and ate some vegetables, and then stopped after tasting the taste. Wen Cai and Xiu Shen, the 2 losers, took over most of the rest. Su Junming gave Uncle Ju a look, and the 2 came to the room and sat down. Uncle, I heard from Master that you went to West Kunlun a year ago. It's a pity that there is still no result. Uncle Ju nodded and sighed. As my master's disciple, I have to do my best in this matter. Please tell me the place you have searched for, Uncle. Uncle Ju nodded. He took out a jade box from the bag and opened it to reveal a map of the Kunlun Mountains carefully drawn with heavenly silk. The map is 5 feet long and 3 feet wide. It is mainly divided into 3 colors, black, red and white. The white part occupies the majority, the red part is not even a tenth, and the black is only used for marking. However, The red part is obviously much more detailed, with mountains, rivers, villages and towns all present, comparable to satellite maps of later generations. In addition, Su Junming discovered that the entire map was actually a low-grade magic weapon with 2 treasures. Uncle Ju popped out a wisp of magic power. With a flash of inspiration, the map instantly became 3-dimensional, changing from 2-dimensional to a 3-dimensional holographic image. Look, these red parts are the places where your master and I have already looked. The white parts have not been found yet. If you want to look for them again in the future, just go to the white parts. Su Junming nodded. Uncle, can you lend me this map for a few days? I'll make a copy and then return it to you. Okay, you can take it. Su Junming put away the map. Then I'll go back first. Well, rest early. After bidding farewell to Uncle Ju and returning to his room, Su Junming unfolded the map of Kunlun and looked at it carefully. He discovered that it was not just as simple as changing from 2 dimensions to 3 dimensions. He could enlarge the red part by pointing at it at will. After zooming in, every ditch, every valley, every mountain, every stone, every plant and every tree is actually clearly visible, as if a real and complete mountain stands in front of you. Seeing this, Su Junming seemed to see Uncle Ju and his master walking across the mountains and rivers step by step, and then marking every part they walked in detail. The hard work and perseverance involved were moving. At the same time, it also made him deeply understand the true meaning of master-disciple and orthodoxy in this era. It's not just about teaching Taoism, but more importantly, they are closely related, connected by fate, and have deep feelings. Master, master, father, master is indeed like father. After sighing, Su Junming couldn't help but think of Chen Lin, this cheap apprentice. I wonder if he has been reincarnated now. Reincarnation does not mean that after you die, you can be reincarnated immediately after staying in the underworld for 10.5 months. Unless you possess meritorious deeds or have connections in the underworld, 10 years is not too much, and 100 years is not too little. Just wait. I took out the jade talisman left by Chen Lin, but there was still no movement. He shook his head and put it away. With his current level of Yigua cultivation, there is no news about Chen Lin. There is nothing to do but wait. After suppressing his messy thoughts, Su Junming reached out and patted the bag and took out a flag from it. This was originally a heavenly corpse flag that he harvested from the Wu family, a low-grade magical weapon. Because there was no need for it, the restrictions inside it were erased and the corpse energy inside was refined, leaving only the century-old eye silk that was originally used as the material. I originally planned to use it to draw a few talismans, but now it has a new use. It took 3 days to cut out the entire map. After checking that nothing was missing, he turned around and walked out of the room. As soon as he entered the Yizhuang gate, he saw Uncle Ju walking out wearing new clothes. Behind him were the 2 generals Hung Ha, Chiu Sheng and Wen Cai. Uncle, what are you? Master Ren from the town invited me to drink foreign tea. I think it's my first time to go there, so I have to dress decently. Su Junming's eyes flashed. Is this the beginning of the plot? Junming, have you ever drank foreign tea? No. Foreign tea is coffee. Su Junming has naturally drank a lot, but he doesn't like it in the first place. Compared to coffee, he still thinks tea tastes better. Why don't you come with me? It will also open your eyes. I appreciate your kindness, uncle. I won't drink foreign tea. You'd better take your 2 junior brothers with you. By the way, please take back this map. Take it and put it away. You remembered it all. Su Junming nodded. That's good, you really don't want to come with me. Master, just do what you want. Seeing him like this, Uncle Ju didn't force him. Then you can stay and look after the house. After Chiu Sheng and Wen Cai greeted Su Junming, they followed Uncle Ju towards the town. Looking at their backs, Su Junming smiled. If everything goes as usual, the uncle will probably be disgraced this time. Sorry, I forgot to click upload. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest for us. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 177. Chapter 175 Shandayaking. An hour later, Uncle Ju came back with a somewhat ugly expression. Behind them, Chiu Sheng and Wen Cai drooped their heads, like defeated roosters, without any energy. Especially Chiu Sheng, there is a faint palm print on the left side of his face. If it is correct, it should be made by Ren Ting Ting. Seeing Su Junming, Uncle Ju's face improved a little, and he didn't say anything. After nodding, he turned and entered the main room. Brother. Senior brother Su. What's wrong, uncle? Su Junming nodded and asked. Wen Cai was relatively honest, so when Su Junming asked, he poured the beans straight out of his mouth and told them everything. Master drank foreign tea, was inexperienced, and made a fool of himself. Chiu's hung, your face. I accidentally bumped into the wall when I went out. It's okay. It will be fine in a while. After saying that, La Wenke hurriedly ran in. Su Junming smiled. Since Uncle Ju was back, he didn't stay any longer and turned around to go back to his room. In order to facilitate entry and exit, Su Junming opened an aisle between his newly built courtyard and Ju Shuya's wang. He won't have to take the long way back in the future. 2 days later, on an auspicious day, Uncle Ju took Chiu Sheng's talents and various talismans and magical tools to lift up the coffin and bury the old man of the Ren family. Because the zombies in the tomb and the coffin soil that caused the trouble had long been taken away by Su Junming. No matter how powerful Uncle Ju was, he couldn't tell anything strange about the bones inside the coffin. So the tomb relocation ended smoothly. Without zombies to cause trouble, Renjia town is as peaceful as ever. Chiu Sheng. Senior brother Su. Su Junming patted his back and told him to be careful when going back so late. Senior brother, don't worry. I have the golden light talisman given to me by Master. Monsters and monsters can't get close to me. As he spoke, he patted his chest confidently. That's good. Chiu Sheng lit a handful of incense and stuck it in the front of the car. Brother, I'm leaving. Su Junming smiled and nodded. Be careful on the road. Nu. Waving his hand, Chiu Sheng got on his bicycle and walked away slowly. Seeing his figure disappear into the darkness, Su Junming looked calm. Follow me and catch the ghosts if you encounter them. Meow, ghost. Is there evil energy in him? The hexagram is yin. If you don't encounter it tonight, you will encounter it in the next few nights. Mao Meow Meow nodded, and disappeared into the night sky as fast as lightning. With a thought in his heart, he turned around and looked at Uncle Ju standing under the eaves. Uncle, haven't you rested yet? There are some things in the jade slip you gave me that are difficult to understand. I was just about to go find you. Since you are here, come and tell me about it, Uncle Ju said directly. Regarding the matter of when 3 people are together, there must be my teacher. Ju Shu understands it more clearly than Simu. Although Su Junming is only a junior, he never hesitates to ask questions when encountering difficulties. Of course, he was never stingy when asked by Uncle Ju. Reviewing the old and learning something new will also bring new insights to Uncle Ju when he preaches to him. After discussing Taoism with Uncle Ju for an hour, Su Junming returned to his room. Mao Meow Meow is already waiting here. Open your mouth and spit out the golden lock of subduing the devil. My lord has a clever plan, and the stupid guy was indeed targeted by the female ghost. Looking at the dull-looking female ghost trapped in the golden lock, Su Junming took out a dream yellow beam and put it in. Although Dong Xiao is a female ghost, she doesn't have much resentment. However, the Taoist priest from Mission will accept the ghost when he encounters it. Once the yin qi in her body is refined, he will send her to reincarnation. Su Junming was not interested in looking at the memories of a female ghost who was in the middle stage of congenital stage. I went to see the mandrill. Ever since I received the Aoki Shangyuan Gong taught by Su Junming, I have been quietly practicing in my room. As the demonic power slowly transformed into mana, the monkey's face gained a touch of righteousness, and its ferocious expression became softer. It makes people feel more close. This monkey is a rare person with great perseverance. If he can keep working hard like this, he might not be able to break into the golden elixir in the future. Sensing Su Junming's aura, Mandrill opened his eyes, and the once violent aura turned into softness. He stood up hurriedly and bowed to Su Junming. Master. He waved his sleeves to create a dark force and held it up. How is your practice of Aoki Shangyuan Gong? Thank you for the gift, sir. If the little beast has only half a month, he will be able to convert all the demonic energy into pure Taoist magic power. That's good. Looking at the mandrill who spoke eloquently. Do you have a name? Since the little beast became a demon, he has been wandering around in the mountains without a name. After saying that, he looked at Su Junming eagerly. Please give me a name, sir. Su Junming nodded and pondered for a moment. Since you are a mandrill, you take Shan as your surname. Now that you have entered the Taoist sect and practiced the Qingmu Shangyuan Gong, I will give you the Dharma name Dao Qing. Dao Qing, Dao Qing, Shan Dao Qing. I have a name. After being happy, the mandrill bowed down again. Shan Dao Qing, thank you for the name. Su Junming nodded and took a small wooden stick from the bag. After removing the Huishan compression, the wooden stick grew in the wind and turned into a thick wooden stick that was 1 foot or 3 feet tall, as thick as a teacup, and sparkling green. This green wood stick was made by me with 500 years of willow wood. It is a middle-grade magic weapon that completes the 6 paths of treasure taboo. It is given to you to defend yourself and eliminate enemies. There is also a set of Ime stick techniques that I have also passed on to you. I hope you will practice more frequently. Thank you, sir. Shan Dao Qing took it with both hands. Holding the green wooden staff, his face was full of joy. This is the first time it has obtained a magic weapon. From now on, you will stay with my uncle. Although you will be looking after the house and protecting the courtyard, it will also be your chance to achieve enlightenment. If you fulfill your duties and practice diligently, you will one day achieve immortality in the future. Don't worry, sir, Shan Dao Qing will follow the teachings carefully and will never dare to have evil thoughts. Su Junming nodded with satisfaction. You should rest. Tomorrow morning, I will teach you the Ime stick technique. Yes. The next morning Su Junming finished his morning classes. As soon as he left the room, he saw Shan Dao Qing waiting in the yard with a green wooden stick. When I saw him coming out, my eyes lit up and I quickly stepped forward to say hello. Master. Give me your green wooden stick. Shan Dao Qing quickly handed over the big stick in his hand. A stick that is 3 feet tall is suitable for a tall wooden mandrill, but it is not suitable for Su Junming. After using Hu Tian's compression technique to compress half of it, he weighed it in his hand and nodded with satisfaction. When he came to the courtyard, he stood with his stick in hand. Look carefully, I'll hit you slowly first, and you remember my moves. Shan Dao Qing nodded quickly, staring at Su Junming without blinking with a pair of monkey eyes. The first move, the immortal guides the way. Su Junming struck out with his big stick and started to hit slowly. In fact, it was his first time to practice the stick technique that he learned from Mission Sutra Pavilion. However, with the help of the bronze mirror, after practicing it slowly, I became proficient. After 3 times, it felt like I had been immersed in it for 3 years. After 6 times, the whole set of stick techniques no longer had any secrets in front of him. The Ime stick technique is regarded as a top martial art in the world, but it is only considered ordinary in the Mission Sutra Pavilion. It is included in it only for the foundation building disciples to use it to strengthen their bodies. With Su Junming's Taoism and the assistance of the bronze mirror, it is not difficult to understand. After stopping, Su Junming let out a breath. Did you remember it? Shandaeking nodded excitedly. After solving the Hushin compression technique, he threw the green wooden stick over. Practice it again. Shandaeking held the stick in his hand and his monkey face became calm. Recalling the stick skills taught by Su Junming, he started swinging each move. The start was equally slow. Stop, the left hand is 3 inches higher. Stop. Move your right foot forward half a foot. Shandaeking practiced it 6 times, and Su Junming corrected it 6 times, and he never made any mistakes again. After all, it is still the middle stage of Xiantian. It is not difficult to practice a foundation building stick technique. If the mandrill hadn't had the body of a monkey, with long arms and short legs, and Su Junming had modified the Ime stick technique based on his body shape, he wouldn't have had to teach him 6 times. After the 7th time, Shandaeking felt that there was no lag between his moves. The green wooden stick seemed to be an extension of his arm, and a feeling of roundness like an arm and a finger came to his heart. Subconsciously, he beat faster and faster, and the more he beat, the more excited he became. Soon the whole yard was filled with strong winds, heavy shadows of sticks, and the sound of the air exploding, deafening. Fortunately, the house built by Su Junming using earth escape was strong enough, otherwise it would not be able to withstand the bursting wind. Mao Meow Meow lay on the side and looked at the mandrill dancing with sticks in the yard. This big guy seems to be much more powerful than before. Such a big movement naturally alerted Uncle Ju next door. Chiu Sheng and Wen Cai also followed. My dear. Looking at Shandaeking, who looked like a giant spirit god in the field, the two of them were stunned. If that big stick with a thick beam hits someone, the image of meat saw subconsciously comes to mind, and the spirit shudders. I secretly decided to stay away from this big monkey in the future. Uncle, how are you? That's great. Staying here to look after the home and nursing home is a bit unfair. How about? Su Junming waved his hand to interrupt. I understand what Master Uncle means. But I already have that stupid cat. Without a dojo, I don't need too many beasts. Uncle Ju nodded. Speaking of the dojo, now that your cultivation level has reached the innate peak, you have long been qualified to become a master. Have you ever thought about where to set up a dojo? There is not much particularity in setting up a dojo under the mission section. There are people like Jushu who set up the dojo in a prosperous place in the world, and there are also fellow sects like Master Shimu who set up the dojo in the wilderness. As long as they like it. Of course, setting up a Taoist temple in this way is also for the convenience of seeking merit. Those who are not interested in merit and dedicate themselves to ascetic cultivation choose a place with strong spiritual energy in the barren mountains and swamps, or simply live in the Mission General Altar of Luofu Mountain. For his dojo, Su Junming chose Haiming Valley in Chenangjia early. However, due to the fact that there are still 2 middle-stage golden elixir monsters and a group of cold flame bugs there, they have not yet been subdued, so it is difficult to tell others. I haven't thought about the dojo yet, let's talk about it later. Uncle Ju nodded. Su Junming has only been in Taoism for more than 2 years. Although his cultivation level is high, his character is still undecided. It is indeed a bit early for him to settle down in one place now. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 178. Chapter 176. A Strange Visitor. With their ears moving, Su Junming and Uncle Ju looked at each other. The two understood each other and heard each other. Uncle, you have a guest coming. Uncle Ju nodded. I'll go take a look first. Um. Not long after, there was a knock on the door. "Is Uncle Nine at home?" Like an aureole emerging from the valley, a clear and sweet girl's voice came in. Under the shroud of spiritual consciousness, Ren Tingting could be seen standing outside the gate of Yizhuang with several servants and gifts. He must have been ordered by his father to come to Yizhuang to thank Uncle Ju for moving his grave. Su Junming didn't want to participate and was too lazy to go out. However, Qiu Sheng and Wen Cai, who were staring at Shandayaking's martial arts practice, turned their heads, looked at each other, and ran towards the yard next door. That speed was really fast as never before. Su Junming saw it in his eyes and couldn't help but shook his head. "If you are so lustful, you will never become a Taoist in this life." Seeing Shandayaking diligently practicing martial arts, I immediately felt that although this monkey was a demon, he was much more pleasing to the eye than Wen Cai and Qiu Sheng. As for future achievements, those who can become demons in this environment of the end of heaven and earth have some qualifications. If they can continue to practice diligently, the future will naturally be bright. Dao Cheng. With a call, Shandayaking quickly stopped. "Master, did you call me?" "That's it for today. Come here with Mao Miao Miao, and I will explain the Taoist scriptures to you." Taoist practice has never just been about cultivating the Dharma, but also about cultivating one's character and understanding the path. Otherwise, there is only a high level of enlightenment and the Tao is not enough, and the Tao cannot be achieved. Therefore, the Tao Te Ching, Nan Hua Zhenjing, and Huangdi Yin Fujing, these Taoist classics, are also classics that Taoist disciples must learn and constantly refer to. Although Mao Miao Miao and Shandayaking are not his disciples, the former is his beast master, and the latter is the guardian he sent to his master to guard the door. They are both related to him, and it is appropriate to teach them. Moreover, the process of teaching is also the process of learning. The verification of the two aspects can also enhance Su Junming's Taoism. The days passed by day, and in the blink of an eye Su Junming had stayed with Uncle Ju for half a month. Because Uncle Ju repeatedly asked him for advice on the way of Pure Yang, he was stopped by Uncle Ju when he left several times. Another day. A young man wearing a green robe and carrying a large box about 4 feet high, with a slightly pale face and handsome appearance, came to the dragonfly spot where Mr. Ren was once buried. Looking at the tombs that had been razed to the ground, he frowned. Sure enough, he was dug out. "Humph, you are seeking death, you can't blame me." Standing on the top of the mountain, looking at Renjia town not far away, the young man changed his hand gestures. His face changed, and he pinched the fingertips again, but there was still no movement. Shua. As if he had changed his appearance, he came to a lonely grave 10 feet away. Divine consciousness swept across the tomb. Sure enough, she's not here. The ghost spirit is so weak, it seems that she hasn't been back for at least 8 or 9 days. Looking at Dong Xiao's photo on the tombstone, he pondered for a moment, her bones are in my hands, there is no way she could escape. Could it be that, have other practitioners taken it? Think about it, this is the most likely possibility. Go check Dong Xiao's whereabouts. A young but gloomy voice sounded from the big box behind him. How about you? The zombie buried earlier is gone, I want to find him. I don't know what you're wasting your time on raising such a weak ghost. The young man's face darkened. Dong Xiao is guarding the zombies. Only by finding her can we be more sure of finding the whereabouts of the zombies. Go quickly. The box behind him flew up with a whoosh, and when the black cloth covering it floated, it was vaguely possible to see that there was a small copper coffin inside. The copper coffin turned around a few times. That ghost's aura is very weak, I may not be able to find him, a young but gloomy voice sounded. If you can't find it, come to Ren's house and look for me. The small copper coffin flashed with light and flew down the mountain. After he left, the young man took one last look at the dragonfly where the zombie was hiding, and stretched out his hand to grab it, but did not collect any breath. Also, after so many days, the breath has long since dissipated. He shook his head and walked down the mountain. He looked at a middle-aged man standing in front of him, wearing a green Taoist robe, with his hair tied in a bun, a thin face, and a thick beard on his chin, who was about 5 points similar to Ren Fa. Su Junming nodded with satisfaction. In half a month, he finally transformed old Master Ren into his own divine protector. He took out a grain of yellow rice and put it between Ren Weihong's eyebrows with a snap of his fingers. The originally closed eyes opened instantly, and the dullness in their eyes gradually disappeared. Although Su Junming has experienced the feeling of being distracted and looking at himself several times, looking at it now, he still finds it interesting. As the only innate peak-level Dharma protector in his hands, he must of course be well equipped. However, most of the magic weapons harvested from the Wu family were equipped with the other 5 divine guardian generals, and most of the rest were turned into talismans in the Tianluo umbrella. For a while, Su Junming also felt a bit poor in his heart. As for speaking instruments, he also has 2 high-grade magical instruments, the white bone needle and the purple sun lamp, and a top-grade magical instrument, the golden lock for conquering demons. However, the Dharma Protector General's body is full of mysterious yin magic power, so the purple yang lamp and the demon-suppressing golden lock are not suitable for use. The white bone needle can be used, but it is not as good as the more suitable yin attribute magic weapon. After thinking about it, Su Junming shook his head. Instead of cultivating a high-grade Swanyan magic weapon, it is better to continue cultivating the Divine Guardian General. There are many ways for Taoists to sacrifice and train their Divine Guardian Generals. It is easiest to train the zombie sacrifice into a Protector General with Swanyan magic power. After all, zombies already have corpse energy gathering in their bodies. After stripping away the resentment and evil spirit from the corpse energy, what remains is the mysterious yin energy. Previously, Su Junming's 5 guardian gods were trained according to this method. This takes the least time. However, if you don't want the Swanyan God General, you can also sacrifice the Protector God General with pure Yang magic power. Just use the method of Yin and Yang to convert the mysterious Yin mana into pure Yang mana little by little. It's easy to say, but not easy to do, and it requires a lot of hard work. Even if he has the help of Yin and Yang, maybe in March. However, considering that he has enough Swanyan divine generals under his command, Su Junming plans to train Ren Weihong into a pure Yang divine general while he has some free time now. Boom! A muffled thunderous roar suddenly reached my ears. Su Junming's face changed slightly, and he looked in the direction of the sound like lightning. Uncle Ju was holding a pure Yang Bagua mirror. The pure Yang golden light as thick as a bucket was flying out of a small copper coffin half a man's height. The copper coffin seemed to sense Su Junming's aura. It flashed with light and disappeared into the darkness. The speed was extremely fast. In an instant, it escaped from the range of Su Junming's spiritual sense. He was about to activate the Hu Tian Shen technique to catch up, but he stopped again after seeing Uncle Ju next to him. "Uncle, are you okay?" "Fine." Soon, Mao Meow Meow and Shandaking rushed over, and when Cai was left last. "Have you seen the little copper coffin master just now?" "No, I just noticed someone peeking at Yizhuang, so I came out to check and bumped into it. I wanted to capture it and ask, but I never thought that the demon in the copper coffin was so powerful. If it weren't for my recent improvement in my magic power, I would be almost unable to defeat it." Su Junming nodded. The outside of the small copper coffin was filled with yin and yang energy, and there was also a strong corpse energy. Although I would have time to use a bronze mirror to peek at my luck in the future, I guess it was not the right way. Could it be that the person behind making MRS Ren a zombie has appeared? Su Junming secretly guessed. Why did such a powerful demon suddenly come to Renjia town? Uncle Ju frowned. Uncle, I'm afraid of what it will do. If it dares to cause trouble, Uncle and I will work together to capture it. When Uncle Ju heard this, he immediately thought of his nephew, who was a master who had mastered the Shen de Zhenju and could unleash the golden elixir's combat power at critical moments. In terms of fighting ability, I am not as good as him. He patted his shoulder, smiled and nodded. Yes, if he dares to do evil, he will be taken in. There was a pause. Literary talent. Master. Wen Kai quickly took 2 steps forward. From now on, you are not allowed to go out at night without my permission. At the Yizhuang dojo, with the protection of him and Su Junming, he was naturally not afraid of any demons. But leaving here and going outside, they are beyond their reach. Yes, Master. Wen Kai nodded quickly. Go back, everyone should be fine tonight. Uncle Ju waved his hand and everyone went home. Go back to your room. Master, do you want me to go out for inspection? Mao Miao's eyes were bright. Su Junming nodded after thinking for a moment. Mao Miao's strength has reached the innate peak. As a monster, his physical body is strong, and with the top-grade magical weapon Xianyan Thorn, as long as he does not encounter the Golden Core Cultivator, there is no problem in escaping. Be careful. Once you find the enemy, remember not to take action randomly and notify me as soon as possible. I know, they're gone. With 4 hooves exerting force, Mao Miao disappeared into the dark night like lightning. Master, how about I go too? Shandaeking asked proactively. No, you are too big and easily exposed, just stay here. Although Shandaeking, who diligently practices the Aoki Shangyu Gong, has improved in strength compared to when he was first captured by Su Junming, he is still far behind the one in the small copper coffin. If he did find it, he would probably be eaten alive. It also knew that it was not strong enough. After mentioning it, it saw that Su Junming disagreed and said no more. After sending it back to practice, Su Junming looked at the deep night sky outside. Interesting, you have strong corpse energy and not weak yin and yang energy. I'm really curious about your true face in Lushan. It was quiet for the rest of the night, and no one came to harass me. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 179. Chapter 177, Uncle Nine in Danger. After midnight, the Ren family was quiet. There were only a few lanterns, emitting dim yellow candle light, that supported the place and prevented it from being eroded by the darkness. Suddenly, a figure in a black cloak crossed the street and arrived in front of Ren's house as if he had transformed. Through the dim candle light of the lantern at the door, you can see inside the cloak a pale, somewhat demonic, extremely handsome face. The visitor stared at the dark Ren mansion, and after a while, he walked through the iron gate and walked into the courtyard like a ghost. With the arrival of this person, the buzzing of insects that once came one after another seemed to disappear. Passed through the closed door of Ren's house, came to the living room, and climbed up the stairs. The black shadow seemed to be extremely familiar with this place and went directly to a room on the 3rd floor. This is a suite of about 60 square meters, with a living room and study room outside, and a bedroom inside. The room was very clean. The black shadow stood in the center of the room, looking around, with a trace of nostalgia in his eyes. Suddenly, his expression became fierce and he turned his head to look at the corner. After a moment, a small copper coffin half a man's height suddenly appeared from the darkness in the corner. Can you find the whereabouts of that ghost? A young but gloomy voice sounded from the copper coffin. What about you? Didn't you find the black corpse? The strange man shook his head. I discovered the whereabouts of the ghost. Where? Yizhuang, Renjia town, 1 kilometer northwest. Yizhuang? I remember there was only one blind old cripple there, the strange man said in a deep voice. I don't know what year you are talking about in the old almanac. There are two Taoist priests in the innate stage there, and one of them is still at the peak of innate stage. The monster man's pupils shrank. A Taoist priest at the peak of his innate nature? You read that right. I've already fought with him a few times. Do you think I'm wrong? The strange man was silent for a moment and muttered to himself. When did the small town of Rengia begin to hide its dragons and crouching tigers? After a pause, if everything is as you said, then Hung was probably captured by them. Do you want to fight? A young voice sounded. No. He shook his head and said, to attack the dojo of an innate peak monk, even if you and I work together, we may not be able to win. What should we do? After 20 years of cultivation and countless resources invested in Hizong, he just gives up. Of course not. My good grandfather is an excellent talent for practicing the Two-Heart Sutra. What are you going to do? The strange man pondered for a moment, then looked up at a large photo hanging on the wall. In the photo is a family portrait. A handsome middle-aged man wearing a navy blue robe stands with his hands behind his back. Next to him is a middle-aged woman with a gentle smile. Judging from the bulge in her belly, she is obviously pregnant. Between the two of them, a little boy about 13 or 14 years old was smiling happily. The chubby little face is full of innocence. Dad, Mom has been lonely down there for almost 20 years, it's time for you to go down and stay with her. Dong dong. It was getting late, and there was a sudden knock on the door. Who? Wen Kei opened the door, and a boy wearing a black shorts appeared in front of him. Afu. Wen Kei, is Uncle Ninth at home? Here, what's the matter with you? My master sent me to ask Uncle Ju to come over. Wen Kei's eyes lit up, and he thought of Ren Ting Ting, his favorite. Come in. Bring Afu through the door. Master, master. What are you yelling about? Who is here? Uncle Ju came out of the next room. It's Afu from Mr. Ren's family. Uncle Ju, my master would like to ask you to come and have a chat with me. Afu quickly bowed and saluted. Uncle Ju frowned slightly. Now? Yes. Did your master say anything? The master only asked me to invite Uncle Ju and didn't say anything about it. After pondering for a moment, Uncle Ju nodded. Wait for me a while. He turned around and walked into the next door, took down the Bagua mirror and a magic sword enshrined in front of the patriarch and put them into the magic bag. He also packed some commonly used magic tools and put them in, then walked out of the room with his back on his back. Although the small copper coffin has not appeared again in the past 2 days, you must not forget to be vigilant when going out in the evening. Let's go. The two of them walked to the courtyard gate, and Uncle Ju stopped. You stay and look after the house. When Cai reluctantly said, Master, let me go with you. If you encounter ghosts, I can still help you. If you encounter ghosts, you will only distract me. Watch your home. Master. Uncle Ju closed the courtyard door from the outside with a bang. He is not a talented scholar, and he doesn't have many eyesight. The master won't let him go, so he doesn't dare to sneak out privately. I just can't see my beloved Ren Ting Ting, and I always feel lost. Finally, Chiu Shen was not in Yizhuang, and no one competed with him for the opportunity to show his courtesy in front of the beauty. But now, everything has come to nothing. Not to mention the lack of literary talent, when Uncle Ju and Afu left Yizhuang and arrived at Renjia town, the sky was already dark. Although the streets are still a bit lively, most of them are already lighting up. Arriving at Ren's house in the northeast of the town, the door was open and the lights were brightly lit inside, but it was somewhat eerily quiet. Uncle Ju, the master is waiting for you in the lobby. Afu said quickly. After examining it, Uncle Ju walked in with a slight frown. Something's wrong. Years of suppressing demons and ghosts have allowed Uncle Ju to develop a keen sense of spirituality. Although everything in front of him seemed to be normal, he always felt that something was wrong. With a pinch of his hands, he secretly blessed himself with an eye-opening spell. Looking at Afu in front of him, he saw that there was no ghost aura about him. Am I worrying too much? At this moment, the two of them walked to the door of the room. The door was closed tightly, and Afu pushed forward. Uncle Ju, please. Uncle Ju nodded, but did not move. With a wave of his palms, a strong wind blew open the door in an instant. He suddenly realized that if Master Ren really invited him, he would have welcomed him out by now. Then would the door have been closed? Sudden. Afu, who was no different from a normal person, his eyes instantly turned dark, his face expressionless, and he rushed towards Uncle Ju. Pointing his toes, Uncle Ju quickly retreated. Boom. Afu's body exploded instantly, and his flesh and bones seemed to be shot with bullets, hitting Uncle Ju head and face. Supreme Qing Dynasty, pure sunshine and golden light. With a buzz sound, a dazzling golden light bloomed from Uncle Ju's body. Keep all flesh and blood out. After landing, Ling Ling took out the Chunyangbagwa mirror from the bag of magic. As a natal magic weapon, the current Chunyangbagwa mirror has become a top-grade magic weapon as Uncle Ju has become more and more sophisticated in the way of Chunyang. After taking a look around, he saw that the gate and walls of Ren's house had long since disappeared, replaced by a black mist. Formation. As soon as the mana was activated, a pure golden light as thick as a bucket shot out, but the black mist shook for a while and then stabilized. Seeing this, Uncle Ju's heart sank. Although he didn't try his best, the formation was far more powerful than he expected. Don't waste your efforts. This 9-nether mysterious formation is a top-notch magic weapon that completes the 12 levels of treasure prohibition. Not to mention you alone, even 3 or 4 more people can't even think of breaking it from the inside. But I'm even more curious, since you saw that Ren's family was a trap, why did you still walk in? The closed door opened, and a tall young man wearing a black robe, handsome but with a sense of enchantment stepped out. Who are you? The young man smiled lightly. I think you should answer other people's questions before asking questions. As soon as his eyes lit up, a strange light shot into Uncle Ju's eyes, and the latter instantly felt dizzy. Not good. Uncle Ju bit the tip of his tongue and woke up instantly. In the shadow below, a small copper coffin half a man's height suddenly appeared, with a strong sound of breaking wind, and hit Uncle Ju's chest. Because the incident happened suddenly, and Uncle Ju was fascinated by the other party's gaze, it was too late to hide. He had no choice but to stretch out his hands to resist the copper coffin. Boom! The powerful counter-shock force caused a trace of blood to flow from the corner of Uncle Ju's mouth. At the same time, a pair of white, fat, but bloodless little hands suddenly flew out of the coffin and hit Uncle Ju's chest hard. Wow! A mouthful of blood spurted out instantly. Seeing that he was injured, the strange young man and the bronze coffin attacked him from the left and right at the same time. In the blink of an eye, Uncle Ju fell into a certain death situation. But Uncle Ju was Uncle Ju after all, and he did not lose his cool in critical moments. The person was in mid-air, forming several seals like lightning. The patriarchal clan of the Qing dynasty, the sun will conquer the demons. Be as urgent as the law. Buzz. After the pure Yangbagwa mirror trembled, it was as if the sun had just risen, and the dazzling pure golden light of the sun illuminated the entire Ren family. The strange young man and the little copper coffin howled miserably and retreated instantly. A huge formation that was 1 foot long emerged from the sky above the Ren family. This formation was like a giant bowl, tightly covering the Ren family and the erupting Chunyangbagwa mirror. Slowly, the golden light faded and turned into a disc-sized bronze mirror, floating above Uncle Ju's head. The strange young man looked ugly. Come together, let's see how much blood he still has to shed. 1 person and 1 coffin, one on the left and one on the right, attacked Uncle Ju directly. Just when Uncle Ju was in danger, Su Junming, who was far away in Yizhuang, suddenly woke up from meditation. Lingtai warns, "What's going on?" A Taoist cultivator has a heavenly mind, sharp six senses, and clear five senses. Any warning from Lingtai will not be taken lightly. Take out the feng shui from the magic bag. With one click of magic power, the hands, as well as the inner and outer discs rotated at the same time. But for a moment, the feng shui disc stopped. Su Junming looked at it and frowned. Shocking up and down. There is a saying in the 8 diagrams of the Book of Changes, earthquakes are like thunder, bumps are like rain, thunder and rain are coming together, and dangers are everywhere. This is a very bad hexagram. The pointer points to the east, and the east is Yizhuang. Su Junming was anxious and quickly came to Yizhuang. The lights were on in the room, and Wenkei was sitting boredly at the door. When he saw Su Junming, he was about to get up and say hello. Before he could speak, "Wenkei, where is the master?" In the evening, Master Ren sent Afu to invite the master. Seeing his anxious expression, Wenkei was stunned for a moment and then said quickly, "How much longer?" "Almost half an hour." Before the word Chen was spoken, Su Junming's figure had disappeared. "Senior brother Su is so awesome." After admiring, Wenkei quickly got up and said loudly, "Senior brother, if you go to Ren's house, can you take me with you?" No one answered for a while, obviously they were far away. "Well." Sighing, Wenkei sat down again. Leaning against the doorframe, Ren Tingting's voice and smile came to mind, and she couldn't help but be fascinated for a moment. However, this guy didn't even think about why Su Junming was so anxious about his master's whereabouts. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 180. Chapter 178, Flying Yaksha. Hu Tianxian performed his magic and reached nearly 200 feet in one step, and arrived at the door of Ren's house in 2 steps. At this time, in the eyes of outsiders, the door of the Ren family was closed and it was dark inside, but in Su Junming's eyes, it was full of evil. Bronze mirror shadows flashed across his eyes, the barrier of the formation disappeared, and everything inside was clearly reflected in his eyes. Uncle Ju's face was pale, he had a pure Yang Bagua mirror on his head, and he was waving a magic sword with strong pure Yang energy in his hand. He was clumsily resisting the attack of the strange young man and the small copper coffin. His body was stained with blood and his breath was getting weaker. He had obviously reached his limit. "Dare to hurt my uncle? I want you to pay with your life." With a wave of his hand, the parasol flew out. The 4 elephants covering the sky formation and the innate Bagua formation were set up at the same time. If he used his formation to break the formation, his 2 large formations would be enough to break through the formation covering the Ren family, but Su Junming didn't want to waste time. The formation was just to prevent the 2 demons from escaping. "Mission disciple Su Junming has asked Guanchendi to come to me. I am as urgent as the law." Su Junming's physical body was able to grow in the wind, and his body instantly became 1 foot tall. Although the 2-foot-long body was stronger, it placed too much burden on his physical body. A body of 1 foot is enough for him to have golden elixir combat power, which is enough to break through this formation. Taking a deep breath, he held the Daguan Dao in his palm and split Huashan with force. "Angry eyes. Open it for me." Boom, the powerful sword energy gushes out like a flood opening. The huge sword light spanned 5 feet and struck heavily on the formation. In an instant, black brilliance flashed randomly, and the formation fluctuated violently. Su Junming struck 3 times in a row, and the powerful sword energy was like a boiling flood. Crack. Tisk. As the sound of cloth splitting was heard, Two incomplete formations fell from mid-air. The strange man and the little copper coffin looked at the giant sword-wielding man who was like a giant spirit and god, full of evil aura, and came straight towards them. Without saying a word, he turned around and ran away. They can't beat Jindan. It's not that easy to run now. Die to me. The sword energy was billowing, like an angry dragon, destroying the ancient and decaying, and slashed straight towards the monster man. The latter was horrified and quickly took out a tortoise shell from his storage bag and threw it towards Daochi. It's a pity that this good defensive magic weapon can't withstand the attack of a golden elixir master at all. As soon as the light flashes, it is cut in half by the sword energy. The strange man took out another magic flag from the magic bag, but it was also cut in half. Behind them were beads and shields. 4 magical weapons in a row could not block Su Junming's angry sword light. In the end, there was nothing he could do, so he flew up and kicked the small copper coffin towards Daochi. A childish and angry curse sounded out. Ren Xiang, you deserve to die. The strange man flew towards the outside of Ren's house without looking back. Boom! The small copper coffin was instantly cut open by the sword energy. But at this time, Su Junming's sword energy was at the end of its strength and there was no more strength left. A chubby child, about 6 or 7 years old, wearing a small mandarin jacket, with a pale face and fear in his eyes, appeared in Su Junming's eyes. Su Junming, who wanted to kill him with one sword, frowned slightly, stretched out his hand, and the yin and yang mill flew out. The up and down millstones rotated, and the mighty yin and yang aura attracted the child who flew out of the coffin. Hey! The child's face changed slightly, and a yin and yang spiritual light came from his body, which actually blocked the swallowing of yin and yang. Innate yin and yang energy. Su Junming's expression changed. The yin and yang aura revealed in this child is definitely the innate yin and yang energy. This point can never be mistaken by myself who has practiced the yin and yang grinding with my own hands. Looking at the zombie aura on the child's body, Su Junming suddenly remembered an ancient book on zombies that he had read in the Mission Sutra Pavilion. It was different from the zombies he had known before. There is not one type of zombie, but many subdivisions. Zombies with all yin characters in their horoscopes are called armored zombies. Zombies with all positive horoscopes are called yin-go. Zombies whose zodiac signs belong to fire are called Han-ba, also known as fire demon. It was said before that the drought ba was born and the land was thousands of miles away. This is what it is. Zombies whose horoscope is wood are called wood mandrills. Zombies whose zodiac signs belong to water are called queens. Zombies whose zodiac signs belong to gold are also called golden or red. Zombies with earth horoscopes are called Kui, also called Xian Kui or Huan Kui. Because corpses belong to yin and the earth's energy also belongs to yin, armored corpses with all yin characters in their horoscopes are the most numerous type of zombies. Therefore, people who don't know much about zombies think that armored corpses are zombies, but this is not the case. Muti, Hooking, Hongyuan, etc. are all zombies, but the conditions for their formation are more stringent. In addition to the destiny, the body must be buried in a unique area. For example, if a person whose zodiac sign belongs to fire is buried in a place rich in fire, after hundreds of years of gestation, he can become a drought demon. The same goes for the rest. However, people whose zodiac signs belong to fire are called the body of fire virtue, which is rare. There are not many places where fire is strong, and the combination of the two is even rarer. Therefore, Hanbo may not be able to produce even one in 1,000 years. The same goes for the rest of Museo, Hooking, and Jingxuan. In addition to the 7 types of zombies mentioned above, there are also 2 rarer types. The flying yaksha is formed by the innate body of yin and yang, or the infinite body, and the general is formed by the innate body of 5 virtues with all 5 elements. Flying yaksha and generals are extremely rare, even rarer than the 7 types of zombies such as muty and hooking. These 2 kinds of zombies are also extraordinary in nature. Other monks can only fly after reaching the golden core. As long as they transform into corpses, they can fly to the sky and escape. And you can also get supernatural powers. These thoughts flashed through Su Junming's mind like lightning, and the eyes he looked at the little guy couldn't help but become eager. If you can get it, this is the best material for training the guardian generals. Suddenly, the yin and yang energy became powerful. The little zombie's eyes flashed with yin and yang light, and a huge 5-foot-long scissors suddenly appeared in mid-air. The scissors have 2 handles, one black and one white. The blades flash with a cold light, and they cut straight towards the yin and yang grinding machine with unbridled evil aura. Su Junming's expression changed greatly. The power of the scissors was comparable to that of the golden elixir. If it encountered the great mill of yin and yang, although his semi-spiritual weapon could not be broken, he would be heartbroken if it were damaged. Look at my big sword. The long sword in Su Junming's hand slashed out. The magnificent sword energy was like a river flowing down, and it collided with the giant scissors with a bang sound. Like a bolt from the blue, the clouds of sword energy and yin and yang airflow flew away. Su Junming waved his sleeves, and the yin-yang grinding mill started spinning, and the mighty yin-yang aura sucked the little zombie tightly. The latter's eyes flashed again, and the huge scissors appeared again. Su Junming looked solemn. He understood that these black and white scissors should be this little zombie's natural magical power. God-given Taoism is magical power. Supernatural power is the Tao method that is solidified in the body of the practitioner. There is no need to comprehend it, as long as you have the magic power, you can use it. Moreover, the power of magical powers will continue to increase as the practitioner's level increases. Just like now, this little zombie is just innate, and the magical power of black and white scissors can bring out the golden elixir's combat power. If it advanced to the golden elixir, the black and white scissors could unleash the power of the nascent soul. As tyrannical as a gangster. However, magical powers are rare, and monks with magical powers are all sons of heaven. Although you have magical powers, I'm not bad at the magic fighting skills. Another slash came out, and the strong sword energy blocked the black and white scissors. Su Junming's heart moved, and he looked toward the northeast. He saw Ren Xiang taking out a simple black magic talisman in his hand, and with a burst of magic power, he slapped it on the large formation formed by the Tianluo umbrella. The talisman flashed with light and flew out with him. Ran. Su Junming was secretly surprised. His 4 symbols Demon Slaying Array and Innate Bagua Array are both top-quality magic weapons with 12 complete restraints. Not to mention Ren Xiang, who is at the peak of his innate nature, even if there are more than a dozen more, he can't even think of escaping. Go out. It seems to be the work of the magic talisman, which seems to have the smell of space. Since he can comprehend the Hushan talisman, naturally there are other talented people who can also comprehend it. However, when he saw the little zombie's eyes scissoring again, Su Junming ignored Ren Xiang and hurriedly faced him with a knife. When it comes to magic power, this little zombie also has an innate peak, which is on par with Su Junming. The mana consumed by the magical power is almost the same as the burden on the body after Su Junming uses the true magic technique. However, compared to this little zombie who only has the magical power yin-yang scissors, Su Junming also has the semi-spiritual weapon yin-yang great mill and the Tianluo umbrella in addition to the true divine art. The 4 elephants kill demons and arrest the soul. 24 soul-binding chains are coming. Yin-yang God-demon gate. The yin-yang grinding stone suddenly turned into a towering stone gate and slammed down. The strong suppressive force slowed down the formation of the yin-yang shear several times. After Su Junming shattered the yin-yang scissors with one strike, 24 spiritual talismans formed a soul-binding rope under the power of the formation, passing through the little zombie's body like lightning. In an instant, a strange soul flew out of its body. This soul is 3 feet tall but has 2 heads. One is just like a little zombie, and the other is exactly like Ren Xiang who escaped. There are 2 heads. The head of the little zombie has eyes wide open and a fierce light, but the head of Ren Xiang has his eyes closed. Su Junming frowned slightly, popped out a grain of colorful yellow rice, and took in the weird zombie soul. He wanted to see what kind of secrets were hidden in it. Without the soul, the little zombie's body instantly calmed down. Su Junming pointed, and the yin-yang great mill sucked this rare flying yaksha body into the yin-yang eye and suppressed it inside. Ren Xiang's body trembled as he escaped, and he looked back at Renjia town in the darkness with a look of resentment on his face. Through the soul connection, he knew that the demon body that he had placed high hopes on and spent countless efforts to cultivate was just like this. Just wait, I, Ren Xiang, will take my revenge. After Wu Ziyi gritted his teeth for a while, his expression suddenly changed and his figure suddenly retreated. A sharp blast of wind blew across his ears, and the sharp wind left a 3-inch long bloody gash on his face. Ren Xiang's expression changed drastically, he held a black magic sword and stared at the dense forest in the distance. Who is there? Come out. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 181. Chapter 179, The Boy Who Delivers Treasures. Meow, why are you shouting, aren't they coming? A giant black cat, nearly 10 feet long and taller than half a man, walked out of the shadows of the woods. The white stream of light that almost hit Ren Xiang's head turned into a 1-foot 3-inch long white bone spur, flashing with a faint white aura, floating lightly 3 feet above the giant cat's head. Ren Xiang narrowed his eyes. He saw a monster beast at the peak of his innate nature and a top-quality magic weapon in his hand. He wouldn't have been afraid of it before. But now that he had just offended a golden elixir monk, he was so focused on running for his life that he had no time to think about fighting. He didn't know whether Su Junming's magic formula was real or not, so he thought he was a genuine golden elixir, and he was scared to death. You and I are strangers, why are you making things difficult for me? Ren Xiang stared at the other party and said. Someone asked me to arrest you, but there's nothing they can do. Who? A nasty guy. Ren Xiang's eyes flashed and he retreated. Mao Miao Miao saw this and curled her lips, but did not pursue him. Buzz. The huge gas explosion was deafening, and more than a dozen giant trees as thick as each other were torn to pieces like straw. Fang Tian's painted halberd, which was 2 feet long and as thick as an oval's egg, quickly enlarged in Ren Xiang's eyes. His face changed drastically, and he quickly took out a stone seal from his magic bag, and his magic power spurted out as if it were costless. The stone seal flashed with light and instantly expanded to a size of 10 feet, and the thick Wutu divine light exploded. Boom! The light from the stone seal was scattered and flew dozens of feet like a ball, breaking hundreds of old trees and plowing a deep trench 2 feet wide and 30 feet long in the ground before it stopped. Dong dong! A tall figure wearing black armor, holding a painted halberd 2 feet tall, and filled with corpse energy strode out of the dense forest. Bang! Fang Tian leaned his halberd on the ground, and countless cracks opened in the hard rock instantly. Looking at the tall demon-like figure opposite him, the corners of Ren Xiang's mouth were stained with blood, and the corners of his eyes couldn't help but twitch. The eyes are full of disbelief. Bronze, armor, corpse. He felt that he didn't look at the almanac when he went out today. Why did 2 golden elixir level masters suddenly appear and embarrass him? Isn't it said that there are very few golden elixir masters in the world of spiritual practice today? Before he could recover, there was another burst of footsteps. Ren Xiang, who had become a frightened bird, turned around instantly, his face full of alertness. In the darkness, an old man who was half a century similar to him stepped out of the shadows of the woods. Seeing this person's face, Ren Xiang's expression changed again. Unfilial descendants, if you see me, Why don't you come over and pay me a visit? The old man smiled calmly. Who are you? Ren Xiang's expression was ugly. He had killed his grandfather with his own hands, put it into dragonfly points, and raised him into a zombie. The voice, appearance, and smile of this grandfather who cared for him since he was a child are extremely familiar. Although this man took away his zombie, he could not imitate his grandfather's demeanor and tone. Who am I? Am I not Ren Weong who you killed with your own hands? I pooped on you all the time and raised you with my own hands, you unfilial descendants. Shut up. Ren Xiang roared angrily, the veins on his forehead were exposed, and he stabbed with the long sword in his hand. The sharp sword energy flew 2 feet across the air and flew straight towards Ren Weong. Ren Xiang followed closely behind, his speed as fast as lightning. He could see that among the 3 people surrounded, the guy occupying his grandfather's body was the weakest. If you want to break through and escape, this is the most likely place. Ren Weong stood with his hands behind his back, showing no intention of dodging. Ren Xiang was a suspicious person. Seeing him like this, he couldn't help but slow down his movements by 3 points. With this slowness, the power of the sword energy also weakened. Buzz. With the trembling, a treasure umbrella flashing with white spiritual light emerged from the void. The auras of aura and auspicious energy prevented Ren Xiang's sword energy from advancing even an inch. Not good. Ren Xiang was greatly shocked. The aura revealed on this umbrella was not unfamiliar to him. Without saying a word, he turned around and ran away. Can you still leave now? Accompanied by a clear voice, a large millstone flashing with yin and yang spiritual light crashed down on the head with a mighty force. Ren Xiang flew back, and a sharp sound of breaking through the air came from behind. Thinking of those white bone spurs, I couldn't help but feel my scalp numb. Just as I was about to dodge, a huge explosion of air rang in my ears again. The front, back, left, right, and top of the head were all sealed. Subconsciously he fled downwards. A golden rope suddenly flew out from the ground. Damn it! Seeing that he couldn't avoid it, a spiritual light flew out from under Ren Xiang's neck. It was a rusty iron plate with a blue spiritual light shining on it. The iron plate flickered, and a pitch-black hole the size of a bowl, leading to nowhere, suddenly emerged from mid-air. A soul with 3 heads flew out of Ren Xiang's body, merged with the iron plate, flew into the black hole and disappeared. Su Junming fell from mid-air, and a flashing blue talisman emerged from above his head. The talisman's spiritual light flickered, and ripples suddenly appeared in the air, followed by a dozen black fine lines. Feeling the destructive power contained in these black fine lines, Mao Miao Miao quickly retracted his Swanyan thorn. What a perverted Hushan Taoist method! Su Junming felt this for a moment and frowned. Ran. He never thought that after all his tricks were used, Ren Xiang was still not completely left behind. He was also surprised by the many tricks this man had. Master, do you still want to pursue me? Mao Miao Miao stepped forward and asked. No. He abandoned his body and used the Hushan method to escape. Although your sense of smell is sharp, you still can't find him. After Mao Miao Miao nodded, he hesitated. Sir, that iron sign seems to be a spiritual weapon. That's right. It's still a rare space spiritual weapon, but it's incomplete. Su Junming practices the way of space and is very sensitive to the breath of space. He is sure that he will not be wrong. What is the origin of this guy? Does he have such a spiritual weapon? Mao Miao Miao couldn't help but be a little jealous. I'm very curious too. Not counting the extremely qualified little zombie, this person already had 7 magic weapons in his hand. The black sword in his hand, the big seal that had just been knocked away by the bronze-armored corpse, and the formation chart that sealed the Ren family were all top-quality magical weapons. If you include the broken iron plate spiritual weapon, there are 8 pieces. And I don't know if there are other magic weapons in his magic bag. If there are, they are really richer than him. This was the first time he encountered such a guy. It's a pity that we didn't catch his soul, otherwise we could have a glimpse of what happened. After shaking his head regretfully, I hope there can be some clues in the soul of that little zombie. You all go back, I'll go to Ren's house again. Ren Weong and the bronze-armored corpse were both his puppet bodies, and they turned around and left neatly. Mao Meow Meow subconsciously looked in the direction where the big seal fell, only to find that Ren Weong had already put it away. Ren Xiang's body, which was trapped by the demon-conquering golden lock, was also picked up by the bronze-armored corpse and carried towards Yizhuang. The cat frowned and muttered, "Stingy man. You just make people work and don't give you any benefits." Su Junming glanced at it, took a step forward, and quickly returned to Ren's house under the power of Hu Tianshen. "Master." Shandaoking, carrying a green wooden stick, quickly walked out of the corner. "How is my uncle?" "After taking the master's elixir, my breath has stabilized. It's just that the injury is quite serious, I'm afraid it won't be cured for a while." Looking at Uncle Ju, who was pale and unconscious, Su Junming nodded. "Have you found anyone from the Ren family?" Shandaoking scratched his head. It was his first time coming to the Ren family, and he didn't know who the Ren family members were. Looking at its expression, Su Junming also knew that he had asked the wrong person. "Forget it, you watch Uncle Ju here, I'll go take a look." "Master, I have put all the living members of the Ren family in the garden behind." Su Junming nodded and came to the back garden, where the servants of the Ren family lay on the ground. "Hey, she's here too." Seeing Ren Tingting lying on the ground, Su Junming pondered for a moment and then activated the bronze mirror. She is indeed a young lady from a wealthy family. Her figure is amazing. After a few unavoidable glances, a black shadow hidden in the depths of Ren Tingting's sea of consciousness also appeared in her eyes. There is indeed something fishy. The mana soaked in, and after a moment of induction, his eyes suddenly opened. "Come out." A black mist flew out from Ren Yingying's forehead and fell into his palm. Feeling the pure soul power in it, the aura is the same as that of Ren Xiang. This guy is really cruel. Not only did he kill his own grandfather, but he also didn't spare his own sister. As for Ren Fa, who is not here, there is no need to guess what will happen. After sealing this ball of soul power into a dream, Su Junming checked the servants of the Ren family. They were just fascinated by the enchantment technique. Unlike Ren Tingting, Ren Xiang's soul power was still hidden in his body. Waving his sleeves to remove the ecstasy spell on the servants of the Ren family, Su Junming left quietly when he saw them groaning and waking up. He doesn't want to get involved in the trouble later. After arriving at the front yard, he briefly repaired the damage caused by the aftermath of the fight, and then asked Shandaoking to take Uncle Ju back to Yizhuang. At the same time, in a valley 100 miles away from Renjia town, a black hole as big as a bowl suddenly appeared in the calm mid-air. A rusty iron plate flew out from inside. An illusory figure with 3 heads emerged from the iron sign with a nervous expression. After carefully sensing that there was nothing unusual around him, he secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Thinking that he came here with great ambitions, but now only his soul is left and he runs away in embarrassment, Ren Xiang couldn't help but feel sad in his heart and hate in his mind. I was about to say a few cruel words, but thinking of the tyranny of the 2 golden elixirs, it was better to run away quickly. After flying forward for about 20 miles, a small town appeared in front of us. When he came to the town, he briefly identified the direction and flew into an inn. When he saw the figure lying on the bed, Ren Xiang quickly used the iron plate to escape. The stiff black figure moved and slowly sat up. Through the hazy moonlight outside, we can see that this person is none other than Mr. Ren Fa, who disappeared from the Ren family. But the Philistine before was gone from his eyes, now he was filled with endless hatred. "No matter who you are, I, Ren Xiang, will never let you go." The sound was like a cuckoo crying for blood, but it was a little suppressed.